Live, folks. All right, 5:30 having arrived, call the meeting to order. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, dive right into budgets. And the first one up is VZ Park. Travis, have a seat at the microphone. We're on page 42. And the budget proposed for 2018 is $35,204, which is up from $29,277. Want to run through the highlights?
The major difference is we're still asking for the park guard. And that's the difference of the 4,928. I didn't think that our numbers this year were going to reflect any sort of need for the park guard, although we feel the need every year anyway. But in going through the our records, it's not complete. Our lifeguards have spent a lot of time issuing the resident decals and the notices for the cars that are in the parking lot without decals. Notices for them to see the lifeguards and get a decal, as well as issuing the visitor passes. In just 3 patrols of the parking lot, they issued 59 notices to get decals. And that was just 3 separate days. As far as visitor passes go, they issued 41 visitor passes this year, while they're only issuing 15 resident decals. So the problem is the cars without the decals, not so much issuing the decals, but just policing the area to check on non-resident vehicles.
Anyone have any questions?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I don't.
So basically, it's gonna cost us $500 a week to police it.
Yeah.
$5,000. Is that mostly weekends?
What we would probably do is put them on weekends and peak hours, maybe even just like half days. They don't necessarily have to be there from 10 to 6. This year, we had 2 lifeguards and 1 general employee who was a certified lifeguard, but she wasn't eligible to work in town due to her age. She was performing the other duties on the weekends, and that seems to be when all of this is at its peak, is weekends and holidays and just certain times a day.
I'm not against it. It just seems like you got it down for 56 hours a week. That's gonna be a lot more than long weekends. And I think you're gonna need it more this coming year when there won't be any moorings down at the dam. More people are gonna try to come in. So I think you
Right.
need it, but we need to get a grip on the hours.
Yeah, we can definitely adjust that. I'm not sure why it's at 56.
I mean, we're spending more on a guard than we are a lifeguard than a park guard, which doesn't,
That's 7 days, 8 hours a week. I mean, 8 hours a day, 7 days.
yeah,
a week.
which in the beginning of the week, you don't,
Yeah, we can look at that again.
be sure before you give it to the budget committee.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll look at that one more time. The rest of the payroll is basically right where we need it. I think
Yeah,
that
looks good.
if we can get qualified employees next year. We had a very difficult time this year, and we advertised our normal ways, and we really stepped up our efforts, and it was just very difficult to find any seasonal employees this year. We even talked with Parks and Rec about a shared employee to get our current lifeguards back next year, so we don't lose them to another job that they pick up in the off-season. So we're stepping up our efforts for next year. We're gonna start advertising very, very early, right after the first of the year, in fact, so
Good.
we should be okay there. The only other thing that we're looking at possibly changing would be the reimbursement line. The costs, when we started doing this, they were about $275, I think, for the course. That's the basic lifeguard waterfront certification. It's now up to $485. We're thinking about, we have current lifeguards that we'd like to get certified as swim instructors. We think it would be easier for them if, they're currently employed, if we can just pay for their certification over the winter time. They hold classes in during school vacations throughout the winter. So we were looking at maybe putting another $500 in that line. But before we do any of that, I want to revisit the park guard and get that number, something that makes more sense. So I would have to agree, it doesn't make sense the way it's
You're
written.
probably gonna raise the reimbursement, probably, say, $100 per person.
Yeah.
So about $500.
Yeah, well, we have it down, the way that we have it written is $200 a guard, and we'd like to give them the $300 for their course reimbursement. Which, if we did that at 5 guards, it would be $1,500.
Yes, sir.
And could you just briefly talk about the safety compliance?
Safety compliance, I'm still trying to gather the costs of, from this year, becoming more safety compliant than we were. We purchased a lot of personal protective equipment, as well as fire extinguishers, things like that. And I don't have all of the numbers for that yet. That is something that I'll get in there as soon as possible, though. I don't see much of an increase there.
Well, we went from $1 to $1,000, so.
Oh, I'm looking at, I have the wrong sheet in front of me.
Okay.
I have the one before we changed it.
All right, so you're gonna look at the park guard numbers
Yep.
and take care of the reimbursement and add an additional 500. Does there anyone have any other questions?
No, I think it looks good.
Just wondering whether $10,000 is gonna
Yeah.
show up, or what you might be, any ideas on the use for that?
We have been rolling that back and forth. There's some big things at the park that we thought we may be able to use it for instead of trying a warrant article type thing. We wanted to maybe upgrade the guard shack, give it a little more room, the outdoor equipment shed, but there's so many things, and I'm not sure were there any contingencies on the money that was donated? Does she
No.
want to see it go in any direction?
Yours.
Yeah, see, that was the tough part. I said, if you told me you wanted us to do something specific with it, it'd be a lot easier, but, so we're open to suggestions, for sure.
You don't have to rush.
Yeah.
And use it. You should really think that the project, or whatever you want to do, is truly important. Take your time and think about it. But it's pretty much at your recommendation.
Yeah, I think for the time being, we just like to let it sit and try and figure out what it's really gonna be used best for.
Okay. Andy, did you have a question?
Yeah, just, obviously, I'm hoping you're gonna use it for some sort of capital improvement or
Yeah.
lasting improvement as opposed to operating budget or
Yeah.
sheet expense.
Yeah, I think our operating budget is sufficient.
Yeah.
I do. So I think that's something that's going to be best used to either increase the safety aspect of the park or, just like you said, capital improvement. So,
All right. Look forward for your updates.
all right. And we'll get that done as soon as possible then.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you all.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right, reevaluation of property on page 8. This year, that is proposed at $91,963.84, up approximately 3,500 from the 2017.
For that additional hours for the part-time?
Yes.
Yep. Increasing hours from 24 a week to 20, and additional hours for data entry.
What year are we in our process right now as far as doing a percentage of town each year?
I'd have to look.
Okay.
I think we did a reevaluation in 16,
Yeah, but we typically do, what, 25%?
25 a quarter
Yeah,
every
and
year.
take a year off. Just wondering how far away we are.
Avatars is,
I'll take a look and get it out to the board.
backup says 4 out of 5 years.
Okay. Oh, Jeff says it's in here, we're in the 4th of the 5th. So typically, we take the 5th off. So we get paid this year.
Oh, it's, yeah. I thought I put it down.
All set.
Any further questions on this? All right, move on to town administration, page 2. $228,592 up from, or down from, the actual budget of $268,590.
And this is primarily due to our reshuffle on finance and,
Right.
Right. And I'm proposing a new part-time position.
That would be an administrative assistant.
Correct.
Is that on here, John?
Yes, it is, up at the
Where?
top
In the first line, but
of the
Okay.
backup.
the backup.
Yep.
And then I'm also proposing a new contract position.
Okay, good.
no, I'm comfortable with that, especially if we're coming in at 15% under still.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful.
Anyone with questions?
All set.
All right, we're gonna move to page 9 and legal. Proposed budget is 30,000. I'm gonna make a proposal that due to the costs that we've already seen on Northern Pass, and no matter what happens next year, I'm going to propose that we raise the legal budget to $100,000, with $70,000 of it being directed towards the town's legal needs with Northern Pass. We've spent that much already this year on Northern Pass defense.
The only thing I would mention is I'm not sure what the wrap-up date is for the SEC process at this point. I think it may be February. It was supposed to be September, it was gonna be November. So I don't know how much legal representation we're going to need past February. It's either gonna be a done deal or it's not.
But either way, we're probably going to have issues that affect the town that we'll need to have direction on. I believe, from seeing how quickly we've spent money on Mr. Whitley and contributions that have come in. I think we're up around 80,000.
Possibly.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily against it, but I almost wonder if we should ask Mr. Whitley if he could give us an estimate of what he thinks, just in case, if he says, yeah, once we hit February, you're really not gonna need to pay me. Or you might, it might require an extra $20,000 or something like that, just before we throw the 70 in.
Okay.
Let's do some homework.
So check with Whitley.
Yeah.
I'm not against funding it at all, but.
Very well. So we had budgeted 43,572, and we're at 38,529 for this year.
So how did you come up with the 30 before you decided on the other 70? How did that-
I was just looking at the proposed budget for this year. That's just for us.
The 30, is there any backup of how we came up with 30? Pre-Northern Pass?
Prior to 2016, our budget was $24,000.
Yeah, that's what I thought, 23 or 24.
Right. With the costs that, we budgeted in an additional, 15 last year?
Correct,
Right.
at the town meeting.
That came from the floor.
And that came from the floor at the town meeting, to bring our actual budget to 43,000.
Okay.
We've spent, other than Northern Pass, I don't think we've spent $10,000.
Correct.
So what I was proposing is just having the 30,000 for the town's needs, and then whatever number for Northern Pass. All right.
Yep.
We'll get some information from Attorney Whitley and revisit that. Let's go to page 17 for insurance.
This is going to be updated again. I just got new information on health and dental today. I did not have an opportunity to update your page in here. This was a guesstimate.
Would you
But I can
would you
tell you-
guesstimate close?
Pretty close. Health insurance is going down approximately 6%. Dental's going up slightly. So I just have to make those adjustments.
The existing plan we have now is likely to
Correct.
go down 6%?
Yep.
I have, the estimate is $472,029.
And that is based on potential one more hire for the police. The police chief is currently looking for a last candidate. And in order to budget, I have to plan on a possible family plan. So that's the most expensive one, given everyone in place.
Good?
I'm just, where did we get the health insurance numbers from, John?
Health Trust.
Okay,
They just sent me a packet today with their updated rates, and I've got to put them in. You talking the backup, Andy?
no, I'm just, I think I'd asked you earlier if we
Yes,
met
no,
with
I haven't.
Bill and looked
Yeah.
at all the, okay.
I've not heard from anyone else.
All right, page 10, Personnel Administration. Page 10, Personnel administration, this is showing 98,500. This is $1,500 performance pay, FICA and Medi for the year based on current salaries, correct?
Correct.
This is the town's portion,
Yes,
above and beyond what gets taken out?
Correct.
Okay,
which is pretty much the same.
yep.
Any questions?
Not now.
All right. Going forward. Any other specific budget items anybody wants to talk about? All right, we're gonna move on. Next week, we have library and highway department. All right, moving on to outstanding minutes, we have September 26th.
I would move as written.
Andy,
Second.
Dick, questions or information, anyone? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Has everyone read the 10:16 minutes?
No,
No.
I have not.
All right, why don't we put them off till next week? Is that okay with everybody?
Yes.
Yep.
I'll move on to accounts payable. I have an accounts payable manifest in the amount of $22,582.29.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I have a payroll manifest, which grosses at $54,307.18 and nets at $41,157.36.
So moved.
Second.
That would be Andy and Fred. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oh, go, I'm sorry, my apologies.
You were looking now. Does this include, is this the pay period that has the police in it, or is that next?
No, you have personnel actions to take up
We have to
today.
do them first.
Okay, just see if it's in, all set.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, there's been a request by the board secretary that she cannot identify people who are making motions in seconds. So I'm trying to help along. All right, speaking of the police, I have a number of police personal action requests, basically rate increases for the police officers, and I'm going to read the whole thing, all of them, and ask for a motion to approve by the board and have the chairman sign it. So the first one is for Lieutenant Dearmond for a increase from $27.04 to $28.37 per hour. Sergeant Lavoy, an increase from $26.87 an hour to $27.81. Officer Hughes to go from $23.73 to $24.72. Officer Mollet, 2082 to 2205. Officer Newell, $20.82 to $21. Officer Bernier, from $20 an hour to $21 an hour. Officer St. Ange, $18.53 to $20 an hour. And Glenda Smith, from $20.88 to $21.64.
Motion to approve this raises for all the employees there that you just read off and have this chairman sign.
Second.
That would be Dick and Andy. Anyone have a question? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Take care of them as we go on. Has everyone seen the new proposal from Keach Nordstrom?
I had a question when you're ready,
Go ahead, sir.
Fred.
Hmm?
Shouldn't we do the whole piece and not half of it?
I didn't see what he's proposing in this one.
Well, and if it's gonna be the whole piece, for that amount, I think it should go out to bid, 7,500? Or is it 4,500
So
for half?
option number one is prepare existing conditions survey plan depicting approximate parcel boundaries as taken from plan of record, 2-foot contour interval topographic survey data, existing improvements, paveway, utilities, et cetera, within North Road right-of-way along entire frontage of site, and location of jurisdictional wetlands as mapped by town certified wetland scientist over entire 11.5 acre site. That's option one. Option two is prepare existing conditions survey plan depicting same information contemplated under option one. However, extent of survey would be limited to the 5 to 6+ acres of currently relevant land area.
If we don't do it all, we don't know what we
Yeah,
have.
I think we
So
should do it all. Do the full 11.5 acres.
So that was the 7,200 versus the 45?
7,500 versus 4,500. One of the problems, I guess, was the existing survey is very old. And we were trying to say, can you survey the land based on the road, using the road as the boundaries, never mind resurveying it? And I guess that's where he's come up with his price of 4,500. But
But that was only half. I don't know which.
well,
Probably even go
extent of
down.
survey would be limited to the 5 to 6+ acres of currently relevant land area. I'm assuming that's without the wetlands or,
I think he's probably talking about, probably the southerly half of it. That's my guess.
Yeah, there's a little bit of elevation in there. where you-
hold on one second. This is a letter from Keach. Pursuant to your recent request and recent communication between Mr. McGarry and myself, attached, please find a modified proposal for preparation of existing conditions survey of the subject premises on North Road. Note, I have modified the proposal such as we continue to provide a proposal for the survey of the entire premises, option one, while also providing a second opinion, which would provide identical services and work product over that half of the overall 11.5 acre parcel that is likely to be the site of a future public safety complex at this time. As far as wetlands delineation is concerned, if the Board of Selectmen wishes to make arrangements to have that work completed by others, they don't do certified wetlands, they have no one on staff, but rather relies on the services of a series of qualified sub-consultants. We can do that for the town at no additional charge to the town, and ask that the selected sub-consultant invoice the town directly for their services. I would presume mapping costs would prove to be something on the order of $400 to $600 for option two, and approximately double that for option one. Let me know if you have specific questions. So he's not going to do the whole thing, you're right.
Yeah.
He's just gonna do the area where we would propose to locate a building. If we're gonna do it,
You might as well do the whole thing, that's
Right.
my feeling.
I don't know, we need the wetlands analyzed, but we need to know where they are.
We need to know where they are, right?
We're not gonna do anything with them anyway,
Right.
but we know we can't, how do you talk a $500,000 building or a $2 million complex and not know where it's gonna go?
Mm-hmm, right.
And I know if we do a police station there, we need an acre. But we ought to know what's beyond that.
Oh, yeah.
I thought we were gonna be in the under 5 range from our original
mine too.
quote.
Well, that's what
why
that's what he initially gave me anyways.
That much. How much time would we lose putting out to bid?
No, probably, at least 2 or 3 weeks.
With the updated bid process, you've got bid rules of $10,000 or more for a bid. Under 10,000 would be 3 quotes.
Oh, okay.
But again, that's up to you as well.
3 quotes is fine. 2 quotes is fine, just if we're almost double from what we thought it was gonna be.
So do we wanna put this out for bid?
3
think
quotes?
I think just get 3 quotes, if we can.
Can you do that? Very well.
I think if you check with some of the engineers that have been coming to the planning board, like Tobin Farwell and some of the others that,
Maybe if I talk to you and get some names,
Fred, yeah.
or Fred, potential people.
People that have been coming to the town, we know their background.
I would defer completely to the 3 guys on the board that deal with site plans and buildings.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. All right, I have 2 petition for license for utility poles and underground conduit. This is from Public Service, both of them.
Is that what they still go by?
Petition for license, a pole petition, yes.
Do they go by public service?
It's with the business name, or, well, I'm sorry, at the end of Public Service of New Hampshire, it says DBA Eversource.
Okay, I wondered. I didn't know if they still owned the poles and Eversource just had the wire.
And you'll notice a difference in documentation. That's actually an updated poll agreement that includes the new language that was adopted by the board last year.
That was what was going through my head when Dick asked if it said.
But
public
just
service
now,
or Eversource.
Being utilized. I've sent them back as they've come in with the old language. This is the first group coming in with the new format. And the road agent has looked at both of them and approved them.
Good.
I'm trying to find. I see poll number 1/22A. Is there somewhere in this new form where it says it's gonna be put up, where?
There's a map at the back.
As long as the road agent's comfortable with it.
Yeah.
He's
Oh,
gone out
I'm
and looked
sorry.
at both sites.
One is Pine Grove Road, Pine Crest Road. And one is on South Road, I assume, by Old Candia Road.
Are these ones we already approved, just need new language? These are additional.
They were never brought to you because they had the old format.
That's right. So,
Motion
motion,
that we grant the poll and petition permits as requested.
There are 3 identical agreements. You just need to sign 3 times.
yep.
Second.
So that was Andy and Fred. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Here's another one.
Virginia happier if they have electricity. At least we don't have to fight those cable fights anymore. That used to be the big deal. Because Metrocast, if you have these two,
Three
three
places on one.
driveway, they
Yeah.
don't do it. They give you a quote of like $1,000 to hook cable up.
Three more times. Getting down to the nitty-gritty, all right. I have a letter from Kenneth Heckman to the Board of Selectmen. I am submitting this letter as a means of informing you of my resignation from the Parks and Recreation Commission. This will be effective on the date of acceptance by the Board of Selectmen. I've enjoyed my time as a commissioner, and it's been an honor to serve the community in that role. I will gladly continue to do so as my schedule permits. Kenneth Heckman.
I think we should accept his resignation and send him a letter of thanks.
Second.
Indeed. Eversource has sent us a check for $3,450 for our participation in the lighting rebate program. That's an excellent thing.
Put that towards legal bills.
Let's give it right back to them. Does the town administrator have a report today?
I don't have any updates for you.
Anyone have anything for the town administrator?
I-
Yes, sir.
Well, I'll mention to the town administrators. I had brought up that the roadsides were not being mowed a couple of weeks ago, and that the mowing has picked up and looks good and is getting done as near as I can tell, so.
Cool. Everything continues to grow with all this great weather. It's
Yeah.
middle of October, and I'm still mowing the lawn. All right, we have unfinished business regarding the fire department merger and the firefighter EMTs. Would you like to speak to us before that, Matt? Nope. Okay.
We're going to continue the conversation from last week. I'm not sure you get that.
It was decided last week that we would come to some sort of decision this week. Okay. But I was led to believe that you wanted to speak to us.
Just as part of this conversation.
Okay. Well, I think at this time it would be appropriate for you to talk with us and give us your thoughts.
So, after, last week, I think it's blatantly obvious that, between Mark, Cindy, and I, we're on 3 different pages, and I think hopefully coming out of tonight, we can maybe merge those pages a little together and work towards something that, we all agree will work moving forward. Ultimately, it's, the selectmen who represent the citizens, your decision how we want to move forward. The information I presented last week is what I was able to come up with so far, where I feel both the fire department and the rescue squad are. I have been hearing that, we don't need full-timers now, but we do at some point. So if we're not gonna have them now, when? Is it going to be to the point where we need them now and now it's too late? Or do we try to set benchmarks of where we need to be for people to be satisfied or feel comfortable with, yes, we can justify these people? Mark hit on one of the things last week that, we need to be able to do inspections. People are gonna call, we need to be able to do inspections. I very clear when I, said yes to taking this position is that, like today, I went up to Vermont, I came back down. I'm not around during the day to answer those calls. So what system are we going to have in place to answer the contractors or the general public that want, their new furnace, their new wood stove, something like that inspected? I am an electrical contractor, so I know I have to schedule with local municipalities when I want electrical inspection or traffic signal inspection. I get that. I would believe the contractors would understand that. We need to think of a way to move forward. I don't necessarily believe that the status quo or not doing anything is the right maneuver. I think we need to work towards something. Yes, I would like to see, 2 people on split shifts Monday to Friday, or include a Saturday if we find that is warranted. If not, I feel we're going to have some deficits, especially during the day, Monday to Friday with the fire department. That is a concern of mine. I know we've had car accidents this year where if you look at a few of our staff are either, full-time firemen where they, hypothetically could not be around that day in the future. And Chief Tibbetts, if he's not around, then, we're down to 2 or 3 or 4 people, if that many, around for that car accident, or if that was a chimney fire or something like that. Yes, we have a very strong mutual aid system, especially in our area. We have a lot of departments to call, but mutual aid needs to be able to go both ways. If we start being that town that calls mutual aid or automatic aid every time, are we able to return that to those communities that are helping us? I hope after tonight we can work towards something that works for everybody, and moving forward we have a consensus of, okay, if we're not doing full-timers now, when? Is it at this benchmark or whatnot? If we don't want to merge now, are we in consensus that merging in the future is something we want to do? Because that was my understanding, especially over the past 18 months, that was the general direction we were going, and this chance of a new administration would be the time for both departments to merge. If that has changed, then we need to reevaluate things and, Okay, when do we want to do that? What, again, you know, not just out of the blue, it's time to do it.
Do you still feel that you want to start with a merged department?
I've had the
I'm talking
opinion.
about your personal,
Yes, yes, I've had the opinion that, you know, there is rebuilding to do in the fire department. Some people may come back, some people may not. Either it's my decision or their decision whether or not they want to. That is fine, but if we're gonna rebuild the fire department or modify it, I think we wanna just do it once.
and is it your opinion, personal opinion, that we should be hiring 2 full-timers?
My personal opinion is that, yes, we do need to look towards staff. I would prefer to see some full-time regimented staff. If we go towards some sort of part-time per diem, that also will just create more administrative work of when these people are gonna show up and what if they don't show up, you know, because this isn't going to be their full-time job. Their full-time job could be somewhere else. So, hey, something comes up, I get an overtime shift at work or whatnot. It's snowing, I have to plow snow, and now I can't cover the Tuesday day shift. Could we find somebody else too? Yes, but that just brings on more administrative work for that per diem shift. Is it a possible solution? Sure, everything's a possible solution. We could have another 12 people that want to come back on the fire department and be very active and there Monday to Friday during the day. I would think we're a long road from that, but certainly, you know, I look forward to people coming back.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think, you know, what you started with, Matt, that that this board is gonna have to make some decisions. And I think as a selectman, what we're looking for, is exactly what Steve's asked you, you know, what you envision for leadership. And this board actually doesn't have a whole lot to say with the direction of the fire department. That's gonna be the fire chief. But basically, you know, we need to be on board so we can figure out funding and budgeting. That's our primary role, when it gets down to who's gonna be on the fire department and who's got the knowledge to lead us. And I think when we talked to you about coming on as fire chief, we were looking for your recommendations. You gave us an indication of what you wanted, privately, and now you're doing it publicly. And if this is the direction that the incoming fire chief thinks we need to go, I think we need to pay heed to the advice we're getting.
I agree. Fred?
I guess with the exception of Candia, all the other communities surrounding us, Nottingham, Northwood, Epsom, obviously Allenstown, all have full-time staff, at least 2,
Yes.
is that correct?
Most of them have more.
Dick?
I think, I don't know where to start. You asked him a couple questions and didn't really get to it. I just don't see how you can even consider combining the two with the fire department in the stage that it is, as far as, I don't know what the proper word would be used, but it's in a confused state, that's for sure. Shorthanded, and how you'd ever think of dreaming of bringing the rescue squad into that. We don't even know if you're gonna be our chief, because if we don't get 2 full-timers, suppose you don't have the hours to put in, and I'm not picking on you, I'm going by what you put in there. All of a sudden, that got sprung on us last week, and that's why I asked to put it off. But Cindy sat right here and said there's 5 new rescue people in the works training, which was great news for that part, to cover that part of the town. But until the fire department gets straightened out and we do have a leader, I don't know how you can merge the two.
I guess I'd like you to clarify why I'm not gonna be fire chief.
It said in the thing that if we didn't get the 2 full-timers, you wouldn't be able to do it. Am I wrong?
Said in what thing, Dick?
The information that he sent out, that letter, and you said that if we needed 2 full-timers, because of the amount of time you're out of town.
Correct, that was my recommendation, to be able to
Right,
cover
but
the
if-
town, but I'm not gonna be around. So it's up to you guys to decide what level of service you want to provide the community. So I'm advising you that, you know, I foresee this deficit in the fire coverage of the town. And this is my possible solution to increasing that coverage.
I want to make sure we have coverage.
Correct.
Well, right off the bat, when Matt takes over, we're missing someone who for the past 21 years has been here 24/7.
Exactly.
And that was the initial reason behind us talking with Matt and coming up with the idea of having two firefighter EMTs during the day, split shifts during the week, in order to increase the process, because in our discussions with Matt, it was very clear he was not going to be able to do what the current chief is able to do.
Yeah, I don't know how anybody could.
Right, so,
What I'm
If-
getting at is combining the two. I want to see us know where we're going with the fire department, and then we'll talk whether we combine the two type thing. That seems to be working like it is. We got to get you working as much as we want you to do it. We need to know what it's going to take to make that work and get that in place. I don't think January 1 is a magic date that the rescue has to report to the fire chief, not knowing at the last meeting, or one of them, you thought we were running out of time to hire somebody to have them ready for January 1st. Is that going to be an issue?
yeah.
Yeah, I think January 1st is probably going to be an issue on the hire. I think to come back to combining, I'm not looking at combining the two departments because I think there's anything wrong with rescue or EMT right now.
Exactly.
What I am looking at is the practicality of if we're going to hire people, which to my mind seems like, we've been talking about this for 10 years and saying that it's time but not quite yet, it's time but not quite yet. I think it's probably time, and the practicality of the matter is we're not going to hire just firefighters, we're going to hire firefighter EMTs.
Correct.
And how are we going to manage firefighter EMTs if we have two distinct departments marching to different orders? And that, to me, is the reason that I would be looking to combine departments, not because I thought there was anything amiss with rescue, and not because I don't think that the fire department couldn't use some time to gain strength here, but looking at the prospect of combined firefighter EMTs as employees, clearly there needs to be some combination of those people to make that work. And I agree that January 1st is coming up way too quick for us to probably have people on board as full-time firefighter EMTs. To my mind, maybe kick that to March 1st and give this the time to sink in, but I just want to be clear that I think combination is a good thing to work towards sooner rather than later, as fast as we can, I think, and particularly in conjunction with paid employees. We're not going to be able to have a separate rescue squad and a separate fire department with employees that are combination EMT. And I think it's wonderful that we've got 5 new people coming on, or interested in coming on to rescue, but I'm wondering if those 5 new people are also people that are employed, maybe out of town. And we're gonna have more people, but we're gonna have the same problem.
So,
Fred? I'm
And-
sorry.
yeah, go ahead.
Andy stole my thoughts with regard, if we hired 2 people, certainly any hires, new hires that I envision would be both firefighters and EMTs.
Right.
And there's no sense in hiring just a firefighter alone, firefighter certification. And so we would have 2 new people working full-time, but because the departments weren't combined, how would we then assign these 2 new guys? Would they be working for the fire department, or would they be,
How would we pay them?
and yeah, how do we pay them? Do we pay them out of rescue, do we pay them out of fire, and how do we do it?
And this is not a new topic of conversation. There have been impediments that have prevented us from doing this a lot earlier. Those impediments will change January 1st with Matt as the chief, who's also a certified EMT.
Right.
Right, but this is one town, this is little old Deerfield, and I can't imagine if we had a full-time employee sitting at South Station and they got a call for a car crash, whatever, they would not take the rescue and go any more than if they got a call for a fire.
What do you mean, Dick?
If we had a full-time employee that was one of your one of the two and got a rescue call, they wouldn't sit there and watch the rescue van just sit there because they're
Right.
gonna be on the fire department.
But it makes no sense to hire just a firefighter.
No, I don't want, they gotta be qualified
They
for
have to be.
both, but I don't know why it's so hard to, why there would be any difference at all whether they went to a rescue or a fire call. They're being hired to do both, I would think.
Pretty much to my understanding, just about every department in the state of New Hampshire is one department, under one basic leadership with different duties as prescribed. We're one of the last towns that doesn't have a merged fire rescue.
Which we're headed for, but we're not ready.
And I would ask, how are we not ready?
We have to get the new chief in place, I guess.
New chief is in place, he's ready to start January 1st. And he has specifically said to us that one of the things that he thinks needs to happen is that we need to merge departments.
Right, and we've also heard tonight that we can't be ready for January 1st with new hires. So
That's because we've taken forever to try and make this decision.
so how do we make it easier for him to take this job and get that in place?
Well, my understanding of the way the merger would work is the entire command system would stay the way it is, other than it would be under the fire chief,
As it was before.
as it was before. And that came down to a situation of just a matter of qualifications that it couldn't be done.
I see.
As for the firefighters, this is something we've been told for years was coming and getting to the point. If we still had a chief who was able to be in town almost 24/7, I don't think I'd be pushing as hard as I am right now. But we're clearly going to have a huge, I'm trying to find the right word to describe what Mark does.
Deficit.
We're going to have to come up with a way to replace someone who runs around and does 2 or 3 jobs at once.
Right.
As far as I'm concerned, we've reached the point where while we can't provide 24/7 professional firefighter EMTs, Matt's initial proposal of having split shifts, guys, Monday through Friday, be available in the town, be available to do the inspections, be available to do everything else, and be available to make a call when it comes, and to be able to do something. In addition to our volunteer crew. But right now, today, this town is operating on 2 or 3 people who are here every day. And one of those people is retiring on the 31st of December. I think the time has come for us to make the decision, number one, that as of January 1st, the fire department and rescue squad should be merged under Matt as new chief. And number 2, that we should say today that we're going to hire 2 professional firefighter EMTs and start the process today, so maybe we could have people in place by March.
Yeah, I guess I would come back to that date. And I'm not sure what Matt's leeway is, and I don't really like kicking the can down the lane any further than we have to, but I think March 1st might be an appropriate date to use.
I mean, if it's sooner, but I don't want to have a deadline.
Just, we're not gonna hire people
I
by
want to
January
say,
1st.
I'm not looking to have anything magically happen. I want to start today, that's all.
Looking.
Well, we're gonna have to budget for this, and that's gonna bring us back to the twin departments too, because if we're gonna budget for employees, and we're gonna budget, for which department, I think so, we're gonna have to decide how.
We're going to have to decide, and the purpose of this, as I understood last week, is today we need to decide whether or not we're going to merge the departments.
I may not be the right person to ask this, but are you guys my recommendation to fit me as chief would be 2 full-time people. And one thing I made very clear in the meeting was that, when we had, the last thing I want to do is put this town at risk. So I think I hear some hesitation about, hiring the full-timers, and,
Oh, I don't,
Not at all.
I don't,
but, we had Chief Tippett's recommendation, or his opinion last week of still bringing in that part-time chief. That is certainly not me. If you guys feel that going with the full-time staff is not the right way to go, and there's other avenues to explore, we need to give that some thought. And if there's some doubt of whether or not me being chief is the correct thing, or bringing in a part-time chief, then we need to air this out before we proceed.
yeah, no, I don't have that hesitation at all, Matt, and, I can only speak for myself, but, we met with you when we asked you to consider taking the position. We listened to your recommendations then. We gave you a positive response. I think you got a positive response from some other quarters too, and quite frankly, last week was the first I had heard about, maybe hire a part-time chief, which I'm not in favor of. I'm in favor of moving forward with the recommendations that the incoming fire chief gave us. My only waffling is whether we could do that by January 1st, and I would waffle no further than March 1st with the hope that we could get something plugged in before that. I think we should merge the departments, and I think, as Steve said, that the command should stay just the same as it is. It's just merged under fire and rescue. Fire and rescue is fire and rescue. It's not 2 separate, distinct entities. And I think that the 2 full-time people that you recommended is a good way to proceed. We've been talking about this for over a decade, and right up until not very long ago, the present fire chief was encouraging us to think along those lines too.
Jeff?
Yeah, I've been thinking about this a lot this week and wanted to get together with people and talk, and I didn't get a chance to, so I apologize. But 100% behind you, Matt. And I think what I was looking at, all the information you gave us and thinking about it, and I'm wondering, sitting here listening too, is we're talking about 2 full-timers. We don't even know if we can get 2 full-timers. Is there a chance we could go to 1 full-timer to start off and see how it goes? If we get the right person, I don't know who's gonna be out there that's qualified, that will wanna do it as a single person, but I also was hoping and thinking that maybe with you coming on January 1st, run it for a month or so, see how it goes. We hear a lot of people say, yeah, we're gonna come back, or yeah, this is gonna change. We don't know. And, give it a shot, see how it runs, to get it back. But I'm also wondering about the budget. We need to have money in by January 1st. If we were to hire somebody January 1st or March 1st, it has to be in before January 1st, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
We need to start today. We needed to start 3 months ago.
right.
But if we don't say that we wish to hire, let's say, up to 2 professional fire EMTs, if we don't get that out there, we won't know what kind of schedule we're in. We may get applicants right away. We may get applicants that say that can't come until March. We may get something, but we need to start today.
Right.
We need to say that we wish to hire 2 professional firefighter EMTs,
So
or say not.
Can we do that?
Yes,
We can. So just talk about the budget, and that's where I'm lost.
the budget is another thing.
The pay, if they were to start January 1st, the rate, the money will be there.
If we budget for it and our budget is approved. But if we enter into a contract, say we're able to find 2 people willing to work starting January 1st, we can enter into a contract with them, and once they become employees, the money would be in a default budget. But I think that situation is only a move of desperation, but it seems to me that a safety issue exists.
Yeah.
Being able to meet the needs of the people of the town of Deerfield. And when a safety issue exists, we have to act. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm gonna come back to, I don't disagree with you on the safety issue, but I'm gonna come back to, we met with Matt. We asked him if he wanted to be fire chief. We asked for his recommendations. We generally agreed with his recommendations, and now we're getting down to brass tacks, and it's like, wait a minute. And I think as this board, we can't do that.
No, I agree.
I think Matt knows that all 5 of us were behind him and still are. We just gotta work out the logistics here of, can we swing 2? Do we need 1? How are we gonna make it work? And
One really, in my estimation, wouldn't work. The best thing was the plan that Matt showed us first, was taking 2 people and staggering them through the day so that they make the length of the day. So there's at least 4 hours, or 4 or 5 hours, Matt, where they overlap, where there's 2 of them and any volunteers that we have. And then, best case scenario is, let's go hire 10 guys, so we have coverage 24/7, and there's always somebody there. We can't do that.
Right.
The very least is 2 people who will have a presence during the week, during the day, which is when we're lowest on people around. Yes, sir.
Yeah, if you look at the towns surrounding us, the same size as us, which Matt has done, and I have done to some extent, clearly you need 2 people to make it work. And most of those towns, in not too distant a time from bringing on 2 people, have moved to 4, which I don't know is necessary in Deerfield. We're not running an ambulance, that sort of thing.
No.
But I think we definitely need to shoot for 2 people.
And I think we also need to shoot for saying that as effective January 1st, that the fire and rescue departments be combined in order to provide the new chief with the department that he needs to lead. Sir?
so you'd have Matt here, and then Cindy as a captain of rescue, and then
Director or captain.
and then what would be the next one after Matt over on his backup?
A deputy chief?
Would the deputy chief be the
Typically, yeah,
same?
there'd be a deputy or assistant
Would
chief.
Cindy become deputy chief in charge of rescue? How does that work?
When, whatever title we come up with, EMS captain, deputy chief EMS, whatever anybody's comfortable with.
But she
You
would
know,
report.
we can create our own rank structure or our hierarchy.
But the person in that job would report to the fire chief.
That'd be my understanding, yes.
Yeah, I just want to make sure it's public.
Fred?
Yeah, you come January 1st, that with all the availability that Mark has provided, has been mentioned tonight so far, that, yeah, he'll be gone and then end up having a big hole. So obviously, we end up having to have at least one person hired to be able to take and fill that function that he's been providing. Then the other issue from my standpoint is, I can't see just having one guy down at the fire station from a safety standpoint. Really end up needing 2 people. And so, certainly from my vantage point, I agree that we should be looking at 2. I guess the other question, and I think we somewhat have touched on it, is how would Matt view how the operation of the rescue squad, and how that would differ from how it's operating today?
Administratively, I wouldn't foresee much of a change at all. You know, I guess one thing, I think I see Cindy, if, she wants to take on, stay, and, if we merge, something I'm gonna need help with, especially because I'm not around, is, administratively things. I won't be around during the day to code the bills, all that stuff. So someone will have to fill that role. I'm not familiar with your process. I know, obviously at work how we do things, but these gaps where as the two departments come together, we're gonna need to fill in the cracks so we can keep moving.
That's how the department operated previously, and how virtually every other
Mhm.
department in the state operates. So I mean, there's plenty of protocol and procedure out there for this.
It just comes down to, we need to take action. We need to support Matt as the new fire chief and basically do the best that we can to give him the tools he needs to protect the town.
So will this hire fall on his shoulders,
Meaning,
the two new? If you vote tonight, then,
I would imagine that we'd put together
I mean, Andy said the fire department does their thing, we just need to know.
Right. I imagine that the town administrator could help put together their proposals for people and put it out there, and then the fire chief could set up a committee, or Matt could set up a committee to look at any of the candidates and, along with Cindy, decide whether or not they're qualified. And
Yeah, I think
I
clearly,
think Matt could, you would be in charge of the procedure from the point we decide that we're going to hire people.
Okay, yeah, I would refer to, like, I know Northwood just went through a hiring process. I know Nottingham usually does, so whatever procedure a similar community is using is something I would look to, let's say, copy.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir?
yeah, I think typically you would have the fire chief, the head of rescue, maybe the town administrator. I don't know if you want to, probably not throw a selectman on,
No.
because the selectmen are ultimately gonna
Make the decision.
off
But
on
I think between
hiring the
you and
person.
Cindy and,
officers that you have
right,
on either side.
Yeah, I know in the past Chief Tibbetts has sat in, I want to say, a few of Raymond's procedures, so bringing in an outside chief
That's
would
right.
be, I
An
think, common
outside chief or an
practice.
outside rescue captain.
Yep.
Not to be a pain in the butt, but this is where I'm confused. He doesn't start till January 1st. Why isn't he the chief November 1st if he's gonna be doing the hiring and that part, so these people are in there? I don't get it. You're gonna
he's a
sign,
member of the fire department right now.
right, but
He
it's,
could take charge of the hiring procedure along with Chief Tibbetts and Cindy, and start the process along and do the interview processes. Go ahead, Andy.
Yeah, we've announced he's the incoming chief. I don't think there's any doubt about what's going on protocol-wise
I
here.
mean, the chief is in the back of the room. Is he gonna step aside so that Matt can do this? Is he gonna help? Now's the time to get it on the table.
Mark, could you, no, Mark, hold it. Say it by the microphone, please.
I don't mind whatever Matt wants to do. If he wants me to help him, that's fine. I just want to let the Board of Selectmen know that it is quite a process to hire a firefighter in the state of New Hampshire. They have to be on the state list. They have to have CPAT. They have to have all the qualifications. It's a long process. Time you put the application out, you'll probably have quite a few applicants. You might not have many, but they have to pertain to everything. It's on the list for the fire academy before you can even start a process. And sometimes they don't have CPAT training, so New Hampshire only gives one of them once a year. Some of the people have to fly to Florida or somewhere else to take the CPAT test, to pass it, to come back. So it's a long process, and Matt and I have discussed this many a times. It doesn't happen overnight. Raymond went through it. It took him over 4 months to hire somebody. So it does take a long time.
I understand, and your willingness to help is appreciated.
Yep, I'll do anything I can help.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's why I certainly don't see putting an advertisement out and having 5 applications
No.
next week. It's just not going to happen that
But
quickly.
we need to start now.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
Yes, sir.
I will say, though, that there is a steady number of folks coming out of particularly NHTI with certification and background looking for jobs. Not that we want people that have had 2 days' experience, but I think there are a fair number of applicants out there that are interested in the position and are on the state list.
So, yes, Jeff?
So, we've been talking about safety for the town and everything, but the other piece of it is inspections. So if we advertise positions, are we gonna advertise so that someone is qualified to do the inspections, or, I mean, how does that
Yes.
work?
I would foresee any applicant we have probably won't come with the inspector certification. There's a class, there's different levels, Inspector 1, Inspector 2, that are put on several times a year through the fire academy. So that's something I would foresee that individual having to go to the academy and take. And I want to say typically it's every Tuesday or something like that for whatever the duration is. So it's not necessarily 5 days, 2 weeks straight or something like that. It's
So it's
broken out over
no
a
different
few
than the
months.
police, and when we hire them and they go through the academy, part of the time they'd be up there getting certified? Once we
So
hire
to-
somebody?
To be hired, as Chief Tibbetts elaborated, there's, your basic firefighter 1. I don't believe fire 2 is a prereq to be hired. I think you have to have it within a year, and then you have to have your CPAT certification. So those are prereqs, so they're already, unlike the police department, they don't have to, police you can hire and then send for their training for months on end. The firemen actually have to come on with some, whatever the minimum qualifications would be, at least, to be eligible for state retirement.
Yes, sir.
Do we have anyone on the department now that has taken any of the inspector certification that you're aware of? Or what do you carry, Mark? Have you?
I got the state one, plus I had it when I worked for the state, that's where I got it.
Okay, we need, any comments made from the middle of the floor are not heard by the recording, and therefore don't get on the minutes, and I'd appreciate everyone step to the microphone.
I got most of mine when I worked for the state, but I've had 21 years' experience, so I've learned through the fire marshal's office, through other chiefs, and that's where I got my knowledge, is through experience.
So you have a state inspection 1?
Right, but I got it through when I worked for the state.
Okay. So this is something that we could either make as a requirement, or if not a requirement, something that needs to be attained within X amount of time.
I think that'd be reasonable.
Okay.
I would defer to the chief about bringing in the fire marshal's office or asking the building inspector to assist with those duties
That's-
in the interim. Or, even if we have this, individual who becomes certified and then moves on, there'd still be possibly that void where we'd need to bring in help to, cover those inspections.
Yes, Fred?
Would be, or should we be looking at 2 people equally qualified, or should we have one with, or advertise anyways, for one with more higher qualifications than the other?
I would like to possibly see at least one as an advanced EMT. I'm not quite sure about how much experience they'd have if they were a paramedic. Since we don't transport, but that is certainly a service that would benefit the town, but without a high enough call volume, I don't know how proficient their skills would be unless they were getting that experience from another agency.
So it seems to me that basic, we need to look for basic, or,
Yeah, the regular EMT, or what used to be
Right.
called EMT basic, would be the, let's say, the minimum.
so what would this position be called? A professional firefighter / EMT? What would their,
I would defer for specific language to, something a surrounding town uses. I don't, firefighter 2 EMT, something like that, I think I've seen, but
so if we were to authorize you to go forward and hire 2 people and put together a job description and level of competence that you would be looking for, would you be able to work with Mr. Tibbetts and Cindy and John to put forward a job proposal and get the ad out there?
I would think so, yes.
Yes,
And I think what we want to charge Matt with specifically is going forward, find 2 people he can recommend to the Board of Selectmen to hire,
Right.
not,
You understand what Andy just said?
Yes, so basically, if you
We're, we're gonna charge you with, go find 2 people.
and we will certainly assist in finding 2 people with the town administrator
Right.
and any other resources we can provide. And I don't, do you want to, I'm going to make a
We're gonna
motion
need a
for this?
motion to do so.
I'm just trying to, I guess,
Word it.
for lack of a better term, I'll use January 1st, but I would make a motion that we authorize.
Can I interrupt you, Andy?
Yep.
Before we, I know last meeting you opened up this 6A to, input. I don't know if Mark has anything else to say, or Cindy or anybody else here, but before we make a motion to, I guess, give Matt Fisher authority to go look for candidates, I think that's certainly prudent to get somebody else's input.
Is that okay with the board?
Yeah, sure, of course.
Cindy, would you like to take the microphone?
Hi, I'm just kind of concerned that you guys have the authority to just hire 2 positions. This doesn't have to go to a town vote for a warrant article to do this?
No.
Nope. It could,
You
But-
could, but.
if the
I
board,
know, I can't, without an ambulance, I mean, I'll help Matt and do what he needs me to do, but without an ambulance, having 2 guys here, none of these inspections can be done by a building inspector?
They're probably gonna have to be for a while.
they're probably going to have to be for a while, right?
Okay. Without having an ambulance, I can't justify full-time people. I
Okay,
said that last week, so it's no.
thank you, Cindy. Mark, you got anything you want to say?
First of all, I can't believe I'm worth so much money.
No one ever said that, Mark. Wait a minute, hold on. Go ahead.
I wish you'd give me some of that for my retirement. I could use it in Florida. I support anything. I will say that this week, my phone's gone dead 3 times. I've had so many phone calls. Only thing I'm going to say is that I support the selectmen, everything they've always done. I support everybody, everything they've done. I just think you got to be careful that the townspeople are aware of what's going on and just make sure they're supportive. I just wouldn't want to see townspeople get in uproar, because I've had some calls and they've talked to me about it, and I said, I'm leaving. I just, the townspeople like to be informed and have control of what some things that go on. I support you 100%. I'm just trying to be diplomatic about it and just not sure if we can start this process, but maybe get the townspeople to say yes or no. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Yeah, and just, not in response to, but in coordination with what Mark's saying, I am, I've got antsiness in my stomach about making this decision or attempting to make this decision. I know people are going to be unhappy. I think if, we made this decision 8 years ago, people would be unhappy. If we make it next Tuesday, they're going to be unhappy. If we make it 3 years from now, there's going to be people that are unhappy. I've been on the board for, 17, 18 years. We've been talking about it ever since, Jim Alexander, Joe Stone, Me, Steve, when he came on, talked about this, next year is gonna be the time to do this, the following year is gonna be the time to do this. Well, a couple of decades are coming up on us now, and I don't think there's ever gonna be a good time to do this. There's gonna be people that are committed to the services they provide, committed to this town, that are gonna be upset. And the one comfort that I take in it is I've talked to some other towns around us, small towns, talked to people who've said, yep, boy, we fought it long and hard. We fought it for 8 years. We got the firemen lined up. We got rescue lined up. We killed it. And boy, when it happened, it couldn't have been better for the town. It couldn't have been better for both departments. And that's the solace I'm taking in it. Understanding that if we move forward with this, there's gonna be people that are angry.
I'm just giving you
Yeah.
things that I've heard, that's all.
Dick?
I just want to thank Matt. I think the discussion was healthy. A lot got on the table tonight that needed to come out before this motion gets made. Thank you, Matt.
So,
Andrew, Senior.
All right,
Yeah,
I would
you-
make a motion that the Board of Selectmen authorize the incoming fire chief to begin to coordinate the hiring search for 2 full-time firefighter EMT personnel with the hope to implement by January 1st and the understanding that that may get pushed back.
And I'll second that.
Mr. McGarry and Andy made the motion. Discussion. Jeff?
Yeah, I'm still torn with it. I'm probably gonna vote against it, just because I'm not convinced myself that we're ready. And and it's nothing against Matt. I didn't do my homework to get here. And I'm just, as Cindy said, I'm not sure having 2 guys sitting in the firehouse at this point. So anyhow, I'm just,
Well, I would say, I would counter with all the administrative duties that are done today, all the paperwork and other assorted things that are done by Chief Tibbetts right now, they won't be sitting there doing nothing. As Mr. Tibbetts has been able to explain to us, he's constantly moving. He's doing fire permits and inspections and boiler looks and the whole 9 yards. And then there's all sorts of paperwork inside the firehouse that just, if absolutely nothing happens, that has to be done for the state and local or whatever. These are all things, these administrative tasks that these guys can also take care of while they're not out on a call. And I don't believe that they'll be sitting around the firehouse. I believe that there are enough things that Chief Tibbetts does right now to keep them quite busy in between the occasional call to go out and do what they have to do.
Yeah.
Anyone else? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
no.
Okay, 4-1. Yes, sir?
You want another motion?
I was going to say yes.
I guess I would make a motion that we as a Board of Selectmen, first of all, determine whether we have the authority to combine the fire and rescue, and if so, that we set about doing so.
When?
We have the authority, don't we? Did we not check into that?
I can verify that.
My understanding is that we have the authority to merge the 2 departments.
I would say, I would use January 1 as a date for that too then.
So the motion would be to, assuming we have the authority to merge the fire and rescue departments effective January 1st.
And I'll second that. And I guess the question I would end up in discussion, maybe John could check with town council to make sure that what our thought is, that we can do the combination, that is in fact legally we can.
Other discussion? Yes, sir.
Do you think we need to do this, Matt, at this time?
Do what?
Merge, vote on merging? Or do we need a little time to,
If we're
See how
certainly
you
gonna
make
be
out with
looking
your
to
people.
hire people, then I would, echo the earlier sentiments. I
That's
can't
what I'm
remember which
asking.
individual did, that if we're gonna be having paid employees, then logically, I would think it'd be one department, one budget. Or else it would be one budget providing the services anyway.
Yes, sir.
I would throw out there too, that if we're going to do this, we need to have a date and time, and in my mind, sooner rather than later, so that's why I made the motion.
So you said January 1st?
I did.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. All right, so John is going to check into whether or not we have the power to do so. You will work with Matt, and Matt will give you whatever help you need, and to work towards getting the job descriptions and jobs out there, and let's see what we can do in whatever time it takes. Anything else we could do for you, Matt?
Nothing comes to mind.
Okay. Very well. Again, we are here, the town administrator is here, and any help that you feel that you need, we'll do everything in our power to help you.
Okay, appreciate that. Thank you.
Appreciate you taking the time to come here after a long day of driving around.
Happens all too often.
Join the crowd. All right, is there any other unfinished business? Yes, sir.
I'm in the process of putting together that noise ordinance. I'm using the town of Hanover as a model for that, and I've just about got it all prepared, so I should have that ready, at least for handing
Town of
out.
Hanover, which is a rather large town and
Well-to-do.
not very agricultural.
No, but they do have agricultural provisions in the noise ordinance, and I figured that because of the money that they have, this ordinance has probably been looked up by several attorneys.
Okay.
And certainly from a legal standpoint, that it has had sufficient scrutiny. And certainly, the board can take input with regard to the ordinance itself, and there were, definitely provisions, one of which was prohibiting the use of jake brakes on certain streets in Hanover, and whether we would want to do something similar to that here or not. But
I remember some of the talk about, we had some sort of ordinance we thought was legal, but it isn't, where, you couldn't start equipment up before, what was it, 7 a.m., Andy?
It was 7 a.m. for trucks, and we had somebody that was starting their
Right.
diesel at 3:30 in the morning and letting it warm up for 2 hours.
Yeah. We want to protect the citizens, but we also want to protect the guy who lives in town and is a truck driver and has to go to work at 5 a.m. and needs to start his truck to do so. So I look forward to seeing what you come up with.
okay.
Anyone else with new or other business?
A couple things.
Yes, sir.
Parks and Rec, tailgate, trunk or treat is Sunday from 1 to 3.
Sunday already.
Just some changes there. The gates will close at 1:45. You won't be able to get into the space after 1:45, 12:45, and you will be in there till 3. Last year, we had people coming and going. It got really dangerous, so
That creates a dangerous situation with cars moving and.
kids running around, just a little. The other thing is, I've been asked about dedicating a room for Joe Manzi, maybe the playroom down at the end of the hall, the after-school program room, and just didn't know procedure on how to do that.
I think if the Parks and Rec Commission were to make a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen, we could just,
You could do it.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
That's a good idea.
That it?
Yes, sir.
Anyone else? Other, old, no? John, do we need a non-public?
Yes, we do.
Okay. So we're going to go into a non-public, and we'll come out, and we may or may not take action when we come out. And do citizens' comments then or now? We'll do citizens' comments then. All right, so we need to go under personnel?
B again?
Yes.
Make a motion, we go into non-public, RSA 91A3, Roman numeral 2, letter B, the hiring of any person as a public employee.
Second?
Yes.
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 Yes. Be right back, folks. With that. All right, no, for the record that no action was taken, can I get a motion to seal the minutes of the non-public?
So moved.
Second?
Yes.
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 Yes. Really? Cool.
Don's in agreement.
All right, citizens' comments. At the microphone, if we would, please.
How you doing? Don Wyman. I'm kind of confused with hiring 2 employees for the fire department. One, we've taken a vote. I sat here and listened to the debate and the conversations on hiring the 2 people. But as a town citizen, I haven't heard one mention of how much we were going to pay these 2 people. Now, I sat here earlier and I heard how much we were going to pay the police department. And as far as I'm concerned, that's way underpaid. So what are we going to pay our fire people? The other question is, you're going to have volunteers coming in to work with 2 paid employees, and they're going to have to sit seat to seat in a truck with a person doing the same dangerous job as they are. They're getting paid, but yet the other people aren't. That runs into an issue if you look at Eversource. Eversource has union people and Eversource has non-union people. And there's a bickering match on that. There always has been, there always will be. And I don't care what job you have. When you have a man risking his life to go in there to fight a fire, and you have one getting paid, but you got the guy standing right next to you not getting paid, there's animosity. So, in turn with creating the animosity, you bring in Matt, who's going to do a great job, I think. You're going to put him in a position to bring in 2 full-time employees and trying to merge a rescue squad. You know, why don't you, I fully think that, you know, this should be waiting. You know, get to 2 employees if that's what you're going to do. One, I think it's kind of sneaky not to involve the town. It should be involving the town. This is a town that I live in, and I've lived in it many years, as long as most of you, if not more. This is something that, you know, I know you have the power maybe to do it, but I don't think it's right the way you're doing it. So we're doing this, and there's warrant articles put in place years back to break the rescue and the fire. And now you're going against that, and you're going to go the other direction on it, and you're going to bring them back together without a warrant article? I don't think that's right. You know? It's just a simple guy that lives on Nottingham Road trying to use some common sense, and I'm not hearing much.
Thank you. Ms. Katie?
I heard something that Steve said tonight that upset me quite a bit. There was a warrant article voted 3 years ago to say no legal money would be spent on Northern Pass. Yet I hear this year that even though you haven't spent the $30,000 in pound business, you have on Northern Pass. That warrant article stays in effect until such time as the people vote differently. I'm wondering if the hiring of Matt isn't what's driving the fact that we need 2 full-times. Matt's a nice guy, well qualified maybe, but it seems that now, after hiring him as the chief, And Matt can't possibly leave his full-time job to be a fire chief and be around here days unless you make a job for him. So what I hear tonight is that you have made it a crucial thing to have 2 firemen. I think this town is going to be in an uproar that you would dare to do this without discussing it at the town meeting when they can vote on it. Now, I realize people don't really want to vote to spend money. The further fact is, you think you can make contracts now? Let me tell you something. The money can't be spent in a budget on a contract starting a new line item. So I think you've got some legal problems there.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.